Hello, fellow online classmates. My name is Curtis McClelland, and I produce under the name of BlitzDub. I'm from this place called Calgary, Canada, and it's nice outside. It's not really cold. Anyways, today I'm going to be taking you through the layout of a compressor, and as a bonus, I'll be showing you an example you can use with a compressor in electronic dance music. I will be using Logic Pro 9 for my example, and here I have set up a little kick drum and a white noise sweep. So I'm automating the filter on the white noise sweep, and I've already bussed the kick drum to bus 1. So let's take a quick listen to see how it sounds like now. Okay, so that's basically what it sounds like now, just a little transition sweep, kick drum every quarter note. There we go. So I'm going to open the compressor. This is the standard Logic compressor. It's nothing that fancy, really. Graphics are simple. Here we have two knobs for attack and release, which, in my opinion, are very helpful as opposed to faders for any other parameter, because you can actually sort of see and get almost like a percentage of what you're doing. So it allows for another translation into a different way of looking at it. Here we have a little diagram of what's going on here with decibels on each side. This actually sort of shows you if I increase the release, nothing really happens. It doesn't show attack and release. But if I do work on my threshold, it'll go down, it'll go up, and I'll have little touches like that. What also affects it is the auto gain. This is your auto gain thing, and Logic always sets it at 4 decibels. Now, I typically don't use any, but specifically for white noise, because it starts out very quiet, I normally do about 1 decibel, leave the rest for other plugins that I'll throw in. Here we have our ratio, so if I reduce this, we get less compression up here in this midsection, till we get all the way up to 1:1, which is completely linear. Absolutely nothing is happening. Let's just put that back to the setting. Where was that? Now the knee is what affects the curve of how it gets compressed. So watch this midsection right here. The softer the knee, the more curved it is. The harder the knee, the more angular it is. See, that almost looks like an ADSR envelope. So let's just put that back to my setting. Here we have the threshold I've shown. This is the limiter threshold. You can turn on a limiter. This is for different instruments where you want to combine limiting and compression in the same plugin. And your limiter threshold is set here in decibels full scale. That's your reference. I normally leave it at 0, no limiter. If I really want to limit it, I will put a limiter on the track myself. And so this is your Logic compressor. There's different circuit types you can use. I typically use platinum. I like the sound of it. But you can experiment to each different circuit type you want. Now, the sort of musical technique I'm going to be showing as to how to apply it to electronic dance music is called sidechain compression. Sidechain compression is basically where the carrier signal that you're working on or planning to modulate is affected by another signal. So in this case, the white noise sweep is going to be affected by the kick drum. And what the compressor does is it ducks the volume when the other signal is present. So the sidechain up here is in Coco, but we have a sidechain input here. It'll show whatever buses actually have signal running through. My kick drum is always on bus 1. That's just one of my organizational things. I started out drumming, so I always work drums first in my tracks. So the kick drum is always on bus 1. The full drum set is always on bus 2, etc., etc. So I set the sidechain to bus 1, and I'm going to set the detection to max, because I really want to hear this sound. So let's actually see how this compressor affects the sound, and I'll tweak a few parameters, and let's see if you can actually hear the sound. So let's play back what we have to start. Now what we have is just a linear noise sweep down. There's no real dancey feel to it. It's just a linear downward sweep. Now let's see what happens if we turn this bypass off on the compressor with our settings. So what's going to happen is it's going to compress once the bus 1 input tells it to compress or that this signal is present. Let's see how that affects the sound. As you can hear, whenever the kick was present in the mix, the noise sweep would duck down. And let's actually go to our oscilloscope and compare these. So let's quickly erase that. First, I'm going to play it without the compressor. This sort of wave. Okay, so that's our waveform for the starting one. Let's see what happens when we actually turn on the compressor. Okay, I'm just going to freeze this. Okay, so let's actually go into our oscilloscope here. What we can see with a noise sweep is that it was very linear, as I was saying. It sort of just stays at the same volume, goes down, comes back up, etc. But once we turn on the compressor, you see there's these little ducks in the amplitude of the sound as you go on. And this is really a good feeling for dance music, specifically because it provides that sort of pulse, even in the atmospheric, ambient, like background sounds that you're using to signal the listener. It still provides that pulse that the listener can move to and, I don't know, dance. Thank you for watching the whole lesson. I really hope that you hopefully learned something about compression or learned the compressor in Logic and saw how it really is default across the board. I hope the sidechain compression was a little thing that you can try to experiment if you are working with EDM or any sort of house or electro or whatever your forte is. I really hope that this demonstration shows how that can be used effectively. Thank you.